There we go. All right, this is Brian Halverson. I'm working with a group of special education teachers. We're talking about ExactPath in use for special education. So now we're recording. So my landing screen, I am logged in as an instructor. And the product works a little bit different depending upon your level of authority. There's instructors, there's program managers, there's account managers, which none of you should be. There's also a no harm role, if you will, kind of a counseling role that you could put in where they can see data, but they can't make any changes. One of the questions that I had was specifically, I have a student who's completing first grade language arts and will be in fourth grade next year. She seems like a good candidate for ExactPath, but one of the key talking points I share with mom, so based upon this, I'm wondering, we're talking about using this over the summer or something along those lines, but it may be.
No, to start the school year.
Start in the fall? Start in the spring? Well, regardless of when they're starting, the best way to get buy-in from parents is to use the resources that we have underneath the Help Center. Have you all been to the Help Center? Dead silence. So I'm going to assume the answer is no.
We've seen it, but I haven't delved into it.
Okay. Well, where is the ExactPath for families? First of all, I want to show you that there is a letter that we could send. Y'all could send in English and in Spanish. I don't know why it's happening now. There we go. And there is also a video. This was just produced recently, in part to respond to the COVID-19 crisis. Come on. The link is available, so you could always just email that specifically to students. This is not behind a paywall, so they wouldn't need to log in order to get access to the information. I'm going to start it, but I'm not going to bore you. I'm playing a whole video for you. I just wanted you to see. Come on. And of course, I say that we never quite.
Okay, this is different than the one that you sent us. Okay.
This is, yeah, the one that I sent to you was for you. This one is for parents.
Share some information with you.
I don't know if you're going to hear the audio in this presentation anyway, so I'm going to stop, but it's very well measured. It's very well delivered. And I'm not just saying that because that's a great friend of mine who's doing that, but it is. Hey, how do we get out? And this is also available in Spanish, also by an Edmentum employee. So two great ways to orientate parents, the videos, the sending home letters. Lots of good information. This product is constantly being updated with new reports. Reports are really kind of difficult to get into without any student performance data, but I do have a sample student that we're going to take a look at in just a moment. One of the other questions that came up is, what if we wanted to make assignments aligned to the student's IEP? That is, we specifically didn't need to assess them. We know what their strengths and weaknesses are. Can we do that? And the answer is yes. You can make direct assignments aligned to state or national standards. Would it be helpful to see that?
I would like to see that, yes.
Thank you. So, logged in as a teacher, my toolbar has very little options. Flex assignments, ExactPath. We're dealing with ExactPath right now. The second toolbar gives me my classes by subject and reports. The third toolbar is where I could, amongst other things, divide up students into groups based upon skills that they assessed weak in. I don't really have a way to example that right now, but essentially I could pull from a master list of students if they all shared a common weakness, and then I could either just pull them up to my table to do direct instruction aligned to that standard, or make it another assignment. To make the assignment, I go to content search, and you guys are in Utah, right? Okay. Any particular subject you'd like to see? Math is one of my favorites.
Yeah, let's do math.
Grade level?
I have a student right now who is going into 6th grade, and he is on a 2nd grade math level.
Okay, so if we were looking for a specific IEP goal, would we have that at grade level? Is the expectation for them to meet it at grade level?
No, you'd have it at the, so you'd put it at a 2nd grade level, right?
So we write
I'm
the
not
IEP
disagreeing.
goal to try and go a year from now. So his goal, he's finishing up 2nd grade. So his next IEP would be that we would get him to a 3rd grade math level. So we could do a year of math in a make up a year in a year, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And of course, with the exact path prescriptive assignments, that could do it just by having the students go in 2-3 times a week and make that progress. It's very reasonable. One of the questions was asked is that, can the students make up more than a year? And I'm going to show you in a moment of how to determine that specifically, depending upon where they place it. The general answer is yes, as long as they use the product and as long as they're being properly monitored. God, I can speak English. So from here, I could choose a specific domain. I'll do measurement, and or a specific standard. Try to find what we're likely to have a sure answer for. Edmentum does not necessarily have 100% alignment to your standards, but quite a bit. I get lucky. So domain, skill, the skill statement, which in my experience as a special education teacher, I have a tendency to turn these around into the student will statements. The student will interpret whole number products and quotients. It's almost written as a SMART goal as it is. I have assignments that are designed for students who are in the K-5 grade content style. That may be a student in elementary. That may be a student in a secondary, middle school who maybe qualifies for intellectual disabilities or other challenges that might be appropriate. But we do have additional assignments at the 6 through 12, so we can respect that dignity of the student as well. It looks like a 6 through 12 one, but it's teaching at that 3rd grade level, by the way. You can preview any of these, and in fact, a special education best practice might be to go through the lesson together cooperatively with a group of students. Show them everything you expect them to do. These are fairly self-explanatory, and students can figure these out a whole lot faster than I can, generally speaking.
Hi, Chip. What are you doing? I'm trying to memorize some multiplication facts using these flashcards. I know I'm supposed to memorize the fact, but I don't know why.
Well, that's an important consideration. You can also search by a specific skill level, but I think state standards are better. Once you choose the content, you can make an assignment, and that will show up here underneath the assignments. Let me go back and walk through that real briefly, since I failed to do that. Boom, 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 boom. Subject, mathematics, grade level, we said 3rd grade, select a domain, measurement. Oh, how about time? And let's see what's in this resource content too. There's a little video that I may want to assign to him. I can always preview it. That's a Khan Academy video. We love Khan Academy. We were one of the first companies to actually financially support Khan Academy. Okay, turn back time. Da, 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 da. Student name. Okay, I want to give it to D and B and assign. Just like that, lickety split. Questions so far? Are you all still awake over there?
Thank you.
Okay, cool. And again, this is just a discussion and introductory piece. You're more than welcome to reach back out to me if any of this intrigues you and you want a little bit more hands-on experience. You can also work on a support hotline, and of course, you've got a trainer as well too. But okay, I think I've dealt with the first couple of questions already. What exact path students make up more than? Okay, so we talked about students can make up more than a year depending upon their placement and their usage. So let me show you how to see where they're progressing. To do that, I'm going to start with math because, well, math, yes?
Sorry to interrupt. So on average, is it a year, but it's possible to increase a couple of years? So like this 4th grade student that's working on 1st grade level, I mean, could they realistically, if they have the usage, get up to 4th grade level in a year, or is that not very realistic?
Well, you know, you also have to take into consideration what's the level of the student's disability. But overall, yeah, I think most students can make a 2 to 3 year growth if they're using it, you know, appropriately. And if we are monitoring students, we're talking about students who are middle school, so they're going to need a certain amount of motivation beyond the fact that, golly, it's cool to do games on a computer to learn stuff. But yeah, I've seen students in the secondary level get 12 credits in a year. So getting a couple years growth on exact math should not be a challenge for a student who's trying and being appropriately motivated. We can't beat children in Utah, can you?
Unfortunately, no.
Oh, there we go. Thank you for the response. Okay.
Are you
so to see how they're...
Sorry, I'm interrupting again. Are you seeing that growth with students with learning disabilities, or are you talking about general education students whose maybe lack of instruction and then this is making up?
Well, I'm really talking about both. Because the instructional level can be brought down to the student's performance level. So, you know, in a perfect scenario, yeah, it certainly could be.
Okay. Wow.
There's a lot of advantages in using instructional technology for students with learning disabilities. It provides some of the embedded best modifications. Frankly, it's unlimitedly patient. The student can go through the lesson as many times as they need to, and the educator, in this case a computer, never gets frustrated with that process. Not a big deal, but kind of an important deal. There's audio embedded in the content as well, so there's also a lot of manipulative experiences on that. Yeah, I do believe so, but I cannot stress enough that if we're not talking to these kids on a not necessarily day-to-day, but certainly a week-to-week basis, and progress monitoring and setting goals, that's the way to have success with kids, whether it's exact path or full semester courses. So I jumped into the subject areas. I chose math. I only have the one class. I want to jump to the knowledge map. Let me show you that one more time. I'm under my classes. I went in, I clicked on exact path, and then I chose math. And chose the knowledge map. I could have chose current activities because there's so little going on in this account right now, but so these are all 4 of the demo students who've been enrolled in your account, 2 of which have already taken the test or were placed at a level. Remember I mentioned that student who's you want them to start the kindergarten level, then we could just assign it to them as opposed to making them take a test that they might take an hour, might take 2 hours, and then we may not benefit anything from except frustrating the student. the top one, placed initially in the second grade level. But notice there's only 1, 2, 3 lessons before they're already into the third grade level. So based upon the assessment, it doesn't begin at the beginning of the grade level. It places them within the scope and sequence of the skill set. You can see the specific state standard that it's addressing. And if you click on the blue box, you can see everything that the student can see. You can launch the lesson, the practice, the mastery component of it. You can see additional resources that are available to include videos, printable worksheets. We also have linkage to our Study Island product, which I don't believe you all have. But maybe someday you will. And then finally, the specific standards that it's covering. So my job primarily right now is helping students who qualify with learning disabilities as part of an online school. And I make modifications to their assignments as necessary. And I also just kind of sit down with them virtually and read through questions and lead them down the primrose path as possible, which is, it's not a bad way to make a living, actually. I kind of like it. But if I needed to, I could take advantage of these additional resources if the student didn't get it through the original assignment. Questions?
Okay, so this is Deanne at the elementary. I had sent you the question. I'm just wondering, with the students that you're working with right now, we're talking about only signing up our students who are behind or students on an IEP where they would take exact path. We're not putting them in the Calvert or the Edmentum curriculum.
Sure,
So
sure. I apologize. I didn't mean to muddy the water.
No, you're totally fine. I'm just wondering if how you do that. I mean, are you doing both exact path and their gen ed? Is this replacing it? What does that look like?
Yes, so our situation is somewhat unique. There are, how do I say this politically correct? There are things that people might do that are clients of ours that we might not necessarily specifically agree with. So I'm going to leave it at that. But speaking of which, our kids can earn credit a variety of ways in this online school. One way that they can earn credit is by making grade level boosts in their learning paths. So every time they go up one grade level, they earn a half a semester credit, which is approximately worth 16 trophies that they would have to earn. Not specifically recommended, but that's the deal that they're doing with their students. Their students, again, these are all secondary high school kids for the most part, are also taking credit courses. So the purpose of the learning path in this virtual environment is to document their service hours. Boy, that was a long answer to a short question. Does that sound like something you could do under the rules and guidelines of your school in the state of Utah?
I think like if we're working with less about credits, we're not working with high school students who are earning credits, we're working with elementary students or working with middle school students who aren't necessarily earning the credit. We're more wondering how are you replacing I guess the question maybe, and maybe this is what Deanne's asking, but this is kind of what I'm asking. It might be the same question is, are you replacing the curriculum from Edmentum with exact path, or are they correlating curriculum? Or like with Calvert in the elementary?
Well, we are 100% online school. So exact path for our 6th through 12th grade students is not enough. It wouldn't keep them occupied. It certainly isn't. So yeah, we're doing both, but you do not have to do both. Certainly with middle school students, this may be the major focus is exact path. Because you're right, you do a little more flexibility with middle school and elementary school students. We're not dealing with credit.
Right. Okay. All right. That makes sense.
I have a question here. So from our understanding, Exact Path doesn't have grades. So if we just had special ed students use Exact Path, like what are your recommendations for how do we grade that? Where could we find, I just don't know how we load grades for them if they're just using Exact Path.
A very reasonable question. And I can show you by going to reports. So again, I'm going to my second toolbar. And hopefully I have some data here to show you. I'm going to let this ambulance go by. There we go. So I chose skill performance reports, and I'm going to leave it at 7th grade. And math, I mean, select a class. Mrs. Jones class. Okay, let's see. I'm pretty sure you guys are 7th graders to find out. And this is not the individual report that I was hoping for. Whoops, I clicked on the wrong thing. Learning path progress. One more time. Okay, so in terms of a score, I apologize, I don't have any actual data here, but this is a report that you could pull that information from. Number of activities done, number of skills assessed, skills mastered. This will actually give you a number, by the way, of the student's performance on that. So that would be a direct letter grade if you needed to take a number grade or a letter grade for that.
So did
There's
you say
not a handy dandy convenient report card like there is for our courses.
So did you say there would be a letter grade that would be on there, or it's a number that then we could use to calculate?
It's a number grade, so you'd have to make that, you'd have to assign the grade associated with your grading scale.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so then are these students, are the exact path? So would the 6th grade math teacher have all of the 6th grade students, and then the ones with IEPs are an exact path? So then you guys are able to go in and assist them with exact path, or how do you guys have that set up as far as accessing it and your kind of access?
Well, the school that I work with has access through their Maestro system. In fact, somebody asked me a question about CTN. Yeah, what is CTN? Do y'all know?
I think it's the Calvert.
It's the back end of Calvert.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I am understanding the question correctly, students sign directly in through either your student management system or our products. It doesn't truly matter either which way. So it may be the Kelvin network that has it like that, but I've not seen that interface. We're not using the Kelvin content with these kids, so I really can't address too much to that. When do you anticipate that you'll get your students enrolled? Do you all know, are you using a student management system integration, or are you going to do this into the system by yourselves?
We are using Maestro, and we'll enroll them over the summer, but they won't start until August.
That's great. Maestro is very convenient, takes care of all that process. Eliminates the multiple sign-ins. It works just fine. We're using it with our kids right now. There's a tendency to look at educational software as a panacea, and our kids are still going to struggle. You know, this is interesting, it's engaging. If they do a good job on the assessment, and by the way, I want to log in as that one student if I can pull this off. and show you the student orientation as well. ACADEMY. Let's try here. That's not going to work. I should have known that. Okay. Let's see if it works this time. Utah Online Middle School. Roll. Learners. Apply filters. Okay. Copy. When in doubt, change the password. All right. Sign out. ACADEMY. So your students won't have to have this three-step process because they'll be going through Maestro, but this is the methodology. Sweet child of mine. Well, I don't know what that assignment's about. Exact path. So this is the starting point for the reading. Here's the math assignment that I got as a result of doing my assessment. I took this test and did not do particularly well. So have you seen what the students see from their perspective? Boom, boom, boom. And then back home. Collaboration. Home. Wow, there's a lot of notes there.
Sorry, Brian, just a quick question. Do
Sure.
you feel like for the elementary, for those K through 5, that exact path is not going to be enough work for them, for the IEP students or students who are behind, that we should enroll them in both the Calvert curriculum and the exact path?
No, I don't think that at all. I think you should start off with exact path. Are you going to do the 3 subjects, math, language arts, and reading? Assessment and placement, or just placement?
Depending on the student, it's going to be
Sure.
placing them, the ones that we know for sure, I feel like we should just place so they don't, I have some students that aren't going to be able to do the assessment, but then on the other ones, they'll be able to do the assessment and get the diagnostic. And then also, we might have students who qualify in math but don't qualify in reading, and so what we've discussed is putting them in exact path for math and then Edmentum for reading, because that seems like best practices. But would you agree, or what do you guys think? Where you've seen the program and I have only been limited usage of it.
Well, we're talking about elementary and middle school children. So the question that comes to mind immediately is, how often can we reach out to these children and those parents and make sure that they're choosing the right thing to work on the right day? So if a student has a math and a language arts, let's say learning path from exact path, and a reading class to go into, that's 3 options that they can choose. I would rather limit their access and give them 1, maybe 2 things to work on, and let's see if we can get their skills up. For example, if a student's struggling in reading, we really want them to do the reading content first in exact path before we try to get them to the grade level content. You control time in a unique environment, in a virtual environment. Now, that being said, at some point, the kid's probably going to need to get credit or just have some experience in the regular class, but maybe not. Can you move kids from one grade level to another based upon exact path progress? I think so, but I don't know what the rules and regulations of are for the state of Utah. Why did I not answer that question?
Okay, so if we put them in, so we are looking at just starting them in the 2 subjects. We're kind of looking at that for the majority of our population, is starting them with the 2 subjects. But what I'm wondering is if they don't qualify for services in reading, only math, do you guys then put them in exact path for math because that's where they qualify, and then have them in the gen ed curriculum for reading because they don't qualify in that area?
Yes, that's exactly what I would do.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Other concerns? Okay, I showed you the parent video and the parent. Somebody asked about the scope and sequence, and I think what happens, well, hold on, let me jump too far ahead of myself. Is sure, you could print the scope and sequence, but it's really not necessary because you can know very quickly where your students are at any given point just by using the data available in the system. Okay, now I'm logged in as an administrator, which I prefer not to do, but there we go. So if I go to my classes, and again, I don't have any real information, every time a student entered one part of those assignments, entered the tutorial, the practice, the mastery test, and got a performance, those notifications would show up here on the landing page. So just by checking this frequently, you can see what's going on. Come on. I have a class. Oh, not me. Trainer. Okay. There's also settings for modifications. What do you mean it's like, come on. Keep on jumping around on me like this for a second. Okay, select a class. You know what? I think I have to be logged in as a teacher to pull this off. Sign out. There we go. I can even sort by, if I had notifications in this class, by subject. I can see who's struggling, which means that they're attempting it. You can actually see these things back up on the thing below. Failed once, failed twice, locked out. After 3 times through, you can be locked out of most assignments. Okay, gang. What else can I do for you all?
One of the questions that I had was, does ExactPath have like a pacing guide or an assigned timeline for completion? And if so, can it be slowed down for individual students? Does it have, how does the pacing work, I guess, and how are you ensuring
Sure.
students are attending at the right pace?
Well, my best practice as a virtual teacher is to meet with my kids once a week. We have a 20 to 30-minute virtual session where we review what they've done over the last week. I also have a tangible reinforcement system that they can earn points for, which can transport to real world like Amazon gift cards or pizza's delivery, what have you. And then we set a goal for the next week. Well, how much of each individual assignment will you have done in this week's time? I found it to be a very successful strategy working with my kids and holding them accountable that way. Some of my students need more. Eventually, some of my students don't need that much supervision, but that's how I do it in a virtual environment. anything more than a week, and the kids have a tendency to realize that they're not being monitored.
So what's, I think in our training when we were trained on Exact Path, I remember them saying that they recommended like logging in each subject 20 minutes a day. Is that the same type of pacing you give your students?
Yeah, I mean, that's the bare minimum. You can get through a minimum of one lesson, an average student, in about 20 minutes. But I think it's more important to look at, well, where do we want them to be at the given point before we have our, our next eval, our next IEP meeting. So it's hard to say specifically within that time frame.
Right. I would say like for a middle school student who I would think they would need like 40, 45 minutes a day in each subject to be successful.
That seems reasonable. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Anything, there's a lot of studies to suggest that if you have kids looking at a computer for more than 3 hours in a given workday of instruction, you're not really getting much return on that investment.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So one other question I have is, do you work with your general education students with this? Or you specifically, like, how are you sharing those students with the gen ed so that they have access to the general education?
Well, in our scenario, students are not only working on by their area of disability in Exact Path, but they also have semester-based courses assigned to them. And yes, I'm working every day with my kids, especially now. You know, high school kids at the beginning of the semester, like they weren't working all that hard, but now we've got 3 more weeks in the school year, and yes.
Yeah, they're eager to meet now, huh?
They're very, very eager to meet now, which is cool.
I'm curious how many students you have on your caseload that you're working with every day.
I started off with about 50, and there's 3 of my peers who have that about main level as well. The way we broke it up this year, and this is our first year as a team, we had one teacher take the 6, 7, one teacher take the 6, 7, 8, one teacher take 9 and 10. I exclusively have juniors because there's a top-heavy area in that, and then there's one person who handles our seniors. That gives us an opportunity to have familiarity with, because many of them at the grade level are in the same semester courses, so we thought that was a good way to break it up. We also have partners in the district. I'm an employee of Edmentum, but the district, of course, has also special education staff, so there's really a 2-to-1 ratio working with these kids overall.
So the students are assigned to both Gen Ed courses and Exact Path, which is what you do for their special ed courses. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, that's exactly correct. And occasionally we do additional modifications. We'll add that to our hours or what have you. But for the most part, their performance and work on the Exact Path, that's also where we use our tangible reinforcement system to get them to do it.
Is there someone who works with the elementary students? Is there a special ed teacher that is exclusively elementary with you guys, or do you guys not have elementary in your?
We don't have any elementary in this implementation, no. So this is a product that's very popular at the elementary level, used all across the country.
Okay, this isn't it. I may have missed it because I keep getting calls and texts. Did you say that the Exact Path would show as a course in their Calvert curriculum?
I didn't say that. I believe it to be true, just like it shows up on the Edmentum side, but I've never seen the Calvert interface. So I apologize. I really can't answer that question, but yeah, I mean, that's the way it's basically supposed to be.
Okay, thank you.
There should not be 2 separate logins. There should not be 2 different locations. It all should go right through Maestro, which is a blessing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Where are you all? Where are you at in Utah? I've got family in Cedar City.
I just moved to Cedar City, so
Ah,
that's where I live.
I love their Shakespeare Festival. I hope to go back again someday.
Maybe after coronavirus, they'll have it.
Yeah, maybe. A lot of maybes on that statement, isn't there?
Pardon?
A lot of maybes. We don't know what's going to happen. I can tell you for sure, though, we're selling a lot of educational software right now.
Oh, yeah.
Because, every superintendent in America has to have a plan for this fall. In case.
Heidi and I live in northern Utah, and Deanne and Megan live in southern Utah.
And you guys are 100% virtual as well?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is the coming wave, isn't it? Or so it seems.
It works for a lot. There's some who don't do well. So do you ladies have any other questions?
I think I'm covered on the questions I sent in.
If you have any follow-up questions, you can always reach back out to me. You can reach out to Mr. Gibson. And of course, our support hotline, they are really the experts. When I was hired by this company back in 2002, we had one product. We have 7 products now. And as good as I am, it's hard to be maintaining expert level on all 7 products. So even after 18 years with this company, I still call the support hotline on a regular basis and saying, how do you do this again? They can actually remote in and take over your desktop and take you through it step by step. And, that's a service that you're paying for along with purchasing the software. I would work these people to death.
I like that. What are the seven products? I'm just curious.
Very good. Let me jump over here into my little sales mode. No, I'm not a salesperson. Oh, Admentum. Well, of course, we have the Exact Path. We've got the courses. We have a couple adult ed programs. Study Island is really K through 12, but it's really a drill and practice program. It is not designed for original instruction, unlike Exact Path, which it is. Courseware is our 6 through 12. We have various assignments. These are getting a little outmoded now, certainly this year, since my state isn't testing. Is your state testing this year?
No.
Yeah. So there's an assessment aligned to whatever your test is called here, specifically for that. Of course, the Exact Path helps students move in that direction. The wing that I work for now is the Adaption Academy, a standalone school. Reading Eggs, this is a pretty good product for ESL learners. It starts off at a pre-K level. And of course, Kelvin Learning. I have never actually trained on Calvert, so I don't really know much about it. I know that we purchased it about a year ago. All my children have grown, so I have no more guinea pigs to test this stuff up out of. What am I doing wrong here? Okay. The last page I want to show you is at the bottom of that helpline is a support page. So I mentioned, how to get hold of our support hotline. There's our numbers right there, specifically for Exact Path. So you're going to talk with somebody who's experienced in that product. There's your letters. Recently updated Teacher Quick Start Guide. You can certainly download that if you want to. Videos on how to do things. And this is just one of several tabs across the top. You probably won't have to create classes because it'll all be done with you through the Maestro process. I have no idea. Student experience. Oh, one thing, how often do you think you'll test your kid? You can do it up to 3 times a year.
Are you talking elementary or secondary?
Really, everybody. Yeah. We like to do, in a perfect scenario, first, a second, and a third test, and our reporting will show you growth over time, and to include against the national rankings. But sometimes my students, they don't test very well. So initially I place them at a grade level, and then I give them the second round of tests, and you know what? They self-sabotaged, because I know they're not at third grade level work, but that's where they place themselves. But I have the option, as do you, of taking the data from the assessment, but leaving their current prescription in place. So they don't go back and repeat a bunch of stuff that they did already. It's always, and they can see their progress that they've made over time already, and that's really meaningful to kids. So you can test just to get the performance data without changing their learning path. That's a new feature. It's called learning path preference, perseverance, that's the word.
And that's in both the Calvert and the Edmentum, or is that just Edmentum?
That's just the Edmentum exact path. Yeah, I apologize. I really cannot speak with any kind of authority at Calvert. Yeah. How do you know this stuff works? We have, like I said, I've been doing this for quite some time. In the last 5 to 10 years, districts have begun to say, hey, we're spending a lot of money on this stuff. How do we know it actually does what it's supposed to do? And so our research is in depth. And I can honestly tell you that I don't understand most of this, but my CEO does. I was very impressed. We also offer free ongoing webinars and consumer workshops. So if you need something like continuing ed hours, this may be a way to get it. Here, this is brand new. I've never seen this one before. Principles of teaching at home. Wow. I'm going to stick that on my Facebook page, as a matter of fact. So yeah, you can find a lot of information to include resources and support on our company's homepage. Okay. Let me get my contact information back up on the screen. Oh, I'm so proud of my masters, I'm going to put it there anyway. 970-260-6422. HALVORSEN@edmentum.com. I truly believe in this product, folks. I've seen hundreds of kids graduate from high school that probably wouldn't have. Maybe they could have done something else. I'm not saying this is, the only way to do it, but
So is this at the, because I go to my Edmentum and it just shows Ed Options Academy on my page. Where is that what you were just doing that showed us the resources? Is it the getting started?
There's two different ways to get there. Yeah. That particular video, let me see if I can get to the right page again. I have a tendency to click on tabs when I shouldn't do that. Okay. Are you seeing my screen again? Here underneath the Help Center, and if you go to ExactPath, and that's all you have, you don't have Flex assignments? From there, on the far right-hand side is the Help Center. And all the relevant immediate things to this page are usually right here. But as I scroll down to the very bottom, here's some tours. Where's the link to the main page? Online help for ExactPath, right up on top. And so there's all that information, all the tabs, the phone number, up to a pretty high degree level of information there.
Okay, I just think my computer is having issues. It's telling me that it's an unsecure, and then it also is doing that weird alien that we had another time when we were trying to get into it. So I think it's just my computer.
Try a different browser. If you're using Chrome, try Firefox or something. The internet is having a lot of problems right now. Don't get me with my conspiracy started. But the simplest way, whenever there's a technology problem, if kids are struggling and it's not working correctly, which never happens, but if it is, should happen, one of the simplest ways is to try a different browser.
Yes,
sometimes the permissions
that
make
worked.
it.
Chrome is not working, but Safari is. So thank you.
You're welcome. One of my other standard questions when people call me and say, hey, when's the last time you restarted that computer? You'd be surprised how simple things can actually make a big difference. At least I have been. Well, folks, we're at the top of the hour. Thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you for meeting with us.
Thank you for your
time. You are very welcome.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Please reach out to me if you have any follow-up questions or concerns. If I don't know the answer, I know somebody who does.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Reading controls. Oh, stop that now.